This is Hirohiko Araki. For years, his work got rejected, and every time he showed his stories to the manga industry, they always said the same thing. You're not good enough, kid. Until one day, he decided to break the rules of manga and create a completely new art style. That's when Jojo's Bizarre Adventure was born. Fast forward to today, he's had collaborations with several luxury brands, his work has been on the covers of fashion magazines, and his art was even shown in the Louvre next to the freaking Mona Lisa. So today, I'm going to show you what he did differently from every other author, and how he went from someone who couldn't even get published to creating one of the most legendary art styles in manga history. So, the first thing you need to know is that there's a very big reason some manga fail while some manga succeed. It's because of how unique they look, especially the characters. Dragon Ball with the crazy muscles, Yakuta with the weird proportions, One Piece with whatever this is. You can tell exactly what manga these characters are from the second you look at them. And that's probably true for your favorite manga. In the beginning of Araki's career, every big author had their own signature style, but he didn't. So that's what he decided to change first. So Jojo's Bizarre Adventure is basically about the Joey Star family across multiple generations. In part 1 of Jojo's, he drew the main character like a freaking beast. Jonathan Joey Star is like this massive bodybuilder kind of guy. His body looked way more like a sculpture than, a regular person. Araki kept drawing these super muscular characters for years until approximately part 4, where something changed. The main character Josuke looked kind of different. He was still muscular, but less like a bodybuilder and way more like an athlete. And in part 5, the main character Giorno looked way more like a model or something than the muscular characters from before. As the series continued, Araki made each new protagonist look completely different from the one before. All the characters evolved and changed in every part. And even though all of the parts are set in, a very specific time period, you can tell that they're all from the same series. Even if they were male, female, small, big, Araki always drew their body almost like as if they were carved in stone, like a statue. And that wasn't random at all. The thing is, this man was absolutely obsessed with sculptures. He loved how the bodies looked super expressive and just beautiful. Listen, the difference between a lot of manga and real life is that manga usually looks, way more basic, like the eyes or the nose, stuff like that. With Araki, you can just tell that this man loves drawing the human body because there's so much effort put into it. Sometimes it even looks way more like classical art than a cartoon or a comic. I mean, look at this nose. The attention to detail is absolutely crazy. And just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, I drew a Jojo character next to like a more regular looking manga character, and the difference of time it took me is insane. Nowadays, these characters still look completely different from pretty much every single manga character out there. So can you imagine how crazy they looked all these years ago when Araki started drawing them? But that wasn't enough for Araki, because if the characters were going to look that weird, then what they were going to wear had to also look super weird. So he had this insane idea to add a completely different art form into JoJo's: fashion. Check this out. Here are 3 outfits from 3 completely different characters. In part 3 of Jojo, Jotaro is a character who wears a completely normal Japanese uniform. It's the boring stuff that pretty much every single high schooler wears in pretty much every single manga. Except that this one is not normal. Instead of some basic uniform, Araki designed this long, flowing thing that's part high school uniform, part coat. And he added a giant gold chain. This thing genuinely has absolutely no purpose in the story except for maximum drip. It looks super uncomfortable, and in real life, it would probably get caught on to like everything. But it just looks perfect. Oh, and also, for some reason, his hat is somehow fused to his hair, which looks insane. In part 5, Giorno wears this bright pink suit that just fits him perfectly. It has heart-shaped cutouts on his chest, and the whole outfit has these ladybugs all over the place. And on top of that, check out his hair. Mamma mia! In part 6, Jolene has a crop top with a bunch of spiderweb patterns all over it, with a butterfly symbol right on the chest. Her hair is like green and yellow, which kind of looks like an insect, which ties back into the whole butterfly thing. Let's be honest. Most anime and manga characters wear pretty simple clothes. Naruto's jumpsuit, Goku's gi, the high school uniforms that are pretty much in every single slice of life anime or manga. The clothing makes sense, but it's not really that important. I mean, even Araki started this way. In the beginning of the series, the characters wore pretty regular clothes. Stuff like this, or this, Or even this. Nothing crazy. But later in the series, something special happened. Araki started looking at fashion magazines and became obsessed with them. Many of his character clothes were inspired by French and Italian fashion. He started studying fashion illustrators like Antonio Lopez. He was this artist who had really beautiful fashion drawings. Araki was making his characters part of culture in a way that manga just hadn't done before. Each panel started looking like it could be in a fashion magazine. And let me tell you, this man was so ahead of his time. These outfits still look insane now, but remember, this man was drawing these characters in these outfits in the 90s. You know, I often hear debates about people saying, this series has more drip than this series or this series. Guys, Jojo's has the best drip in any series, period. But now, Araki kinda had a problem. His characters looked crazy and he added all this insane fashion, but if his characters would just act like regular people, it wouldn't feel right. So Araki looked at his story and said, what if almost every single time a character moved, it looked like the most insane thing ever? And that's when he invented the Jojo pose. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. There's this scene where an enemy is trying to trick one of the characters by creating this illusion of his sister. Okay? The illusion starts attacking him and pretending it's his real sister. And just when he's completely overwhelmed, when he's emotionally devastated, as all hope seems lost, his friend Mohammed Avdol comes back. This is another character that was apparently slain a bunch of chapters ago, by the way. As a reader, you're like 100% sure he's not gonna come back. You saw it happen. He's donezo. But then he strikes a pose. Chest forward, arms at the side, clothes dramatically flow. It is literally such a serious moment, and the author made it super mega extra. This is a Jojo pose. We're talking about characters that in the middle of these serious, supernatural, intense scenes will strike poses that look like this, or even this. I'm telling you, these characters will genuinely be facing life and death situations and posing like they're about to be photographed for a fashion magazine. Really? But the crazy thing is that it's not only the poses, it's just the way they move. Every entrance, every moment of tension becomes an opportunity for a cool move. And it's not just the protagonists, no. Villains, side characters, random background characters, everyone in the Jojo universe moves like this. The truth is, in most manga, people move like regular people. Even if we're talking about ninjas or warriors or aliens, whatever. Characters might strike a cool pose, but it's pretty rare. So when Araki started using fashion magazines, he didn't only take the fashion, he also took the moves. Basically realized that a lot of female models were creating these super artistic, almost impossible poses. They would twist their hips, bend their necks, move their bodies in ways that created interesting shapes and turned the human form into abstract art. Suddenly, Jojo fights weren't about who's the strongest. They were about who could look the coolest while fighting and also be the strongest. This created this incredible aesthetic where these buff dudes would just look powerful and strong, but also graceful and elegant. The Jojo pose is still one of the reasons this series looks different from anything out there. And honestly, at this point, we were good. Jojo's looked awesome. But here's the problem. Jojo's was also part of the Weekly Shonen Jump. This is a manga magazine that basically contains series with a lot of fighting. So Araki decided to go even further and put this weirdness into the fighting. So he introduced a system called stands. A lot of characters in Jojo basically have something called a stand. It's kind of like their power that appears next to them as a sort of spirit. Each stand has a unique appearance and a unique ability. For example, there's a scene where we follow a character called Bruno. His stand is called Sticky Fingers and it lets him create zippers on any surface. Yes, zippers. I know, it sounds like the worst power you could imagine, but wait. Bruno is tracking an enemy, right? Suddenly, he sees a clue and creates a zipper on the wall to get closer to the clue. Bam! He finds a tunnel, goes inside, and finds the guy he was looking for. Bruno launches his stand at him, but his arm gets caught. No problem. He turns his whole arm into a zipper and frees himself. He then proceeds to cut a bunch of pillars in front of him by turning them into zippers. But then, in the middle of the fight, my man receives a phone call from a phone he put inside of his freaking face. So he casually unzips his face and answers the phone. And that is your average stand. In most series, the powers are usually, pretty straightforward. You've got energy blasts, elemental attacks, martial arts techniques. Stuff that's generally, pretty easy to understand. But Araki decided to do something completely different. He created a bunch of powers that seemed like they would be kinda lame, but he did it so creatively that these weird powers became the reasons these fights looked so visually cool. We're talking about stuff like a main character that can control strings, a main character that shoots his own nails, or a main character that gives life to literal objects. These bizarre powers brought something super unique precisely because they weren't just basic energy blasts or punches. And even when they were punching, it was still so cool because it looked so different from every other punching power out there. The variety of powers became absolutely wild, combined with the fact that most of them were inspired by awesome pieces of music or artists like King Crimson, Metallica, Aerosmith. It didn't just look cool. Each power felt like a completely unique piece of art that felt different from anything out there. And finally, after he had done all of this, Araki also decided to add his final passion, the cherry on the cake: traveling. Most stories are usually set in one place or maybe a few places, maybe a few cities or even a couple of different countries. But in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the characters travel to like 10 different countries. We have places like England, Mexico, the United States, Egypt, India, Italy. So yeah, very, very different. And listen, I don't personally know how authentic these places look in the manga. What I do know is that Araki clearly put a lot of effort into making these places feel authentic. By the way, if you know these countries, please let me know in the comments if you think they're accurate or not. That would be amazing. For me, I feel like the architecture, the clothing, the entire atmosphere feels like it's been lived in. When he decided to set an entire story arc in Italy, you can just tell that this man fell in love with his country and went back again and again. His passion for Italian culture genuinely completely transformed this part of JoJo. In part 7, you can tell that this man didn't just watch Western movies for reference. It absolutely feels like he experienced these places. When you read JoJo's, there are always pages with random facts about these places and the culture of these places. And that makes these environments feel so much more real. Araki has always loved traveling, and he knew that visiting the place, seeing the streets, the buildings, that would make his art way more convincing. It feels lived in because it was actually lived in by the creator. Not only is this visually beautiful, it shows that Araki has a deep respect and appreciation for the countries he's visiting. Even though this manga is wild and super creative, Araki tried his best to be accurate. And I think that's awesome. Hirohiko Araki never stopped growing and learning. He mastered the fundamentals, combined things that people had never thought about before, and created an art style that's not only famous in manga, but in art history in general.